Welcome everybody to SLMOOC 2017 Visions of Self. Today is June 15th and we are looking at a presentation now by Milena. It will be a 2-hour workshop on symbolic modeling in Second Life. We're on the second floor of her butterfly gallery on Inspiration Island, which is worth a wander around when you come back. The group Octagon Creative Exploration, that's her group. She uses the technology of Second Life to make symbolic representations of inner processes, allowing individuals to work with their challenges and beliefs. More information is in the landmark. Let me start again. More information is in the note card that will be attached to the wall board in the SLMOOC building, as well as in a variety of other materials that you can pick up in this room or the next room from the mushroom, which will also be available in the wall board after the presentation is over. So I'd like to tell you something about Niela Miller, who is Milena in Second Life. She has an MS in Niela Miller, I'm sorry. I'd like to tell you something about Niela Miller, who is Milena in Second Life. She is an MS in Education Communications and a Gestalt therapist, composer, musician, artist, actor, educator, trainer, coach, and facilitator. She's been in Second Life since 2007. She's the founder of the Octagon Creative Exploration Group, the facilitator in Adventures in Lifelong Learning, Whole Brain Health. And in her note card, you'll see a link to her website, www.peoplesystemspotential.com, for much more. Okay, Fran, up to you.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to Visions of Self, Symbolic Modeling in SL. I'm Francisco Koolhoven, Program Assistant to Milena, founder of Octagon Creative Exploration. This session will give you an introduction to Marley's method of ideas and feeling states by using the tools available in Second Life. You will need to be able to hear voice during this session. I believe everybody now is able to do that. If you cannot hear, please let me know, or if you have any other technical problems during the presentation, please let me know. It may be easier to change your voice preferences so that you can hear voice from your camera position to provide more flexibility in listening. I'll also want to introduce you to Katsai Tenen, who's our new recruitment manager for the Octagon and for Inspiration Island. If you have any follow-up questions or comments after the event, you're more than welcome to contact her or me. A video of today's presentation will be recorded for the SLMOOC. This video, or an edited version of it, will be included on our website. In the corner of the room near the door, you will see a pink mushroom. Clicking on this will give you a list of the programs that are offered here, and will provide a link to Marley's website, as well as the Inspiration Island website, where you can find other programs and projects that she has been working on, and information on how to get her publications and music. If you have time after this event, please feel free to tour the first floor of the Butterfly Gallery right below us, which contains a display of Marley's multimedia artwork. Be sure to grab a note card from one of the boxes inside downstairs to use as a guide while viewing, and then answer the questions posed on the note card and drop your responses into one of the drop boxes inside. Your feedback is very much appreciated, so please come and check it out when you have a few minutes. Now I'm going to turn the workshop over to Milena, founder of the group Octagon Creative Exploration, hosted here at Whole Brain Health on Inspiration Island.
Welcome, everyone. This is a tomato thing. I always pronounce my name Milena. Everyone else pronounces it Milena. And my first name, as you heard, also presents problems. It's pronounced Niela, and everyone misspells it. But hey, if that's the worst problem I have in my life, I'm very grateful. Do you all see that orangey pink mushroom in the corner there? You can point to it and take the resource information, including some theoretical background, if you're interested, into your inventory and read it later. You don't really need to do it now, but that's how you get it. Here's what's going to happen in the next few hours. I'll spend the first 20 minutes or so providing some background, a bit about my history here, what symbolic modeling is, and how I employ it. And then we'll do 3 different demonstrations of SymMods. That's my abbreviation of symbolic modeling, SymMods. The first one will be in this room, and then we'll go across the hall to the other wing of this butterfly gallery for 2 other demonstrations, which I will do with my 2 wonderful assistants, Fran and Cat's Eye, who are both relatively new to the practice of using this process. So they'll be representing you in a way. If we have time, I will invite a few others to play. Then we will, in the latter part of the program, we'll open this for questions, discussion, and any bright ideas you have about applications of what you witnessed. So please take notes at home. When we get to that portion of the program, you can write in local chat or use voice. I arrived in Second Life in the fall of 2007 and was immediately enchanted with its creative possibilities and what I heard and saw. My own background and training and experience, which combines many arts, education, humanistic psychology, coaching, and facilitation, were not difficult for me to translate into programs to offer in this new world. Of course, I had to learn a lot and have helpers along the way, which I did and I still do. Of particular interest to me was the possibility of using the building technology in symbolic and metaphorical ways, something I did not see happening in Second Life. There were wonderful, fantastical, admirable, immersive builds of all kinds, but not much in the way of creating for self-understanding, for educational insight, for community building, where various arts processes were used as tools for generating new ways of perceiving feeling states, values, and various issues. So this became my niche. I started gathering people for creative coaching sessions where they were invited to make symbolic representations of aspects of their psyches or their challenges or problems that interested them, their work or their life explorations. And again, I call these SymMods. For a long time, these were sculptural in nature since there was no drawing board at the time that could hold an image for more than a minute. But then a knowledgeable friend of mine in Second Life, who happens to be a professional magician for his actual profession, did some magic with the web drawing board, and I then had the possibility to offer people who prefer to express themselves 2-dimensionally. Later, if I can get my board to work, you'll see a demo of that. I formed a group called Octagon Creative Exploration and began to create workshops using these tools. You heard a little bit about the exhibit downstairs. I never had a full exhibit of my own artwork before just a month or 2 ago. So that's exciting for me. So the downstairs is for my artwork and also for the artwork of friends or colleagues or other people who may not have had a chance to exhibit their stuff in other places in Second Life and might like to do that. And periodically we will open that space for other people to exhibit their art, any kind of, either photography or paintings or whatever things that are downloaded. But upstairs here, the images you see in this wing of the this is the second floor of this gallery, are illustrative of what I have people do in the workshops, which I call Visions of Self, which is the name of this session. In them, I have people create digital art pieces on their computers with drawing programs, which represent aspects of their psyche. Once they are uploaded, we hang them here, and the art makers gather for a session in which we explore the images and their personal meaning to the artist, as well as what they evoke for the rest of us in our own psyches. This is an adventure in using art for expanding self-awareness and is not intended as a therapy session. It doesn't matter if you've never done something like this before. It was brand new to me when I started. If you're interested in being in the next workshop early next year, or sometime in the fall, I guess it is, please contact either Fran or my recruitment manager, Cat's Eye, to receive further information and support for your creative process. Now, if you want to see a content-driven use of SymMods, you can go up to the climate change area above this, where we have periodic workshops in which people model attitudes across the spectrum of how people respond to the climate change issue. We don't work on solving the problem. Our job is to help people recognize that there are many arguments people use to rationalize their positions across the spectrum. But that's an example of where I can take content, or it's a more educational application of SymMods, and use it to help people examine and explore different attitudes. Some of you who came to the VWBPE session I did with Badjoy of the Avillion Cameo Theater may have seen how we use this approach as a theater tool for character development. The possibilities for how this process can be applied are vast. And we have videos about different ways that we've used this. Now, my main orientation is to the process of using arts tools as a way of exploring self and society. So what you see demonstrated here today could be useful to you whether you are an educator, a coach, a counselor, an artist, or just a citizen who likes to know about different tools that you can use in virtuality for these kinds of explorations. I will remind you now that toward the end of this session, I'll be asking you what ideas you get about applications in your own interest areas. So please jot down your questions or ideas as we go along, and we will have a dedicated time for the Q&A and discussion. A little bit of theoretical background about symbolic modeling. Symbolic modeling, or SymMods, can be thought of as a tool for capturing ways of perceiving that you don't get by thinking or talking alone. It allows you to shift perspective, try out possibilities, connect your body-mind visceral experience sitting at the computer to your visual creativity, and play with options for making connections between what you create, see, think, and feel. It can produce insights which are surprising and magnify understanding. This approach, which I combine with models from humanistic existential psychology, provides the basis for much of what I do here. I also have an intense interest in bringing artists and musicians together to derive improvisational inspiration from each other, which is another kind of program I do. Virtual venues are great places for all sorts of experimentation in the realm of creativity. It'll be interesting to see what evolves from these experiments. If you want more theoretical background, there are some links in the mushroom. There are some papers. There's a paper that I wrote, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. And now let's start the experiential portion of the program. Let me just pause for a minute and see if you have any questions or comments thus far, whether what I presented to you is clear, and if we can go on. You can write in the chat or you can speak. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not hearing anything. So shall I make the assumption that up to now everything's been clear? We're in shock. I love that. Oh my gosh, I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. But I think you get the general idea of, I mean, the main thing is the difference, the different way that I use these tools. That's symbolic rather than immersive. Okay. In this first part, I'll be talking about my own images. What I did was I put up images that I used for when I do Visions of Self workshops. I also talk about my own work. I don't separate myself from everyone else who's there. And you'll notice that over here, there are two images that are entirely abstract. The two images over here on these walls. This one and that one. Okay. All the other images in here have some kind of human form in them, but they're still not realistic. The one over here that Lear is sitting near, I have to try not to step on you here. This one, I took a photograph, a black and white photograph of myself, distorted it, and then brought it into a paint program and did all the other stuff that's on it. So all of them are very different. So what I would like is for three people, the first three people who stand up, to stand up. One of you go and stand in front of one of those two abstract ones, because I don't have time to talk about all of them. So I'm going to have you help me choose. Somebody choose one of the two abstract ones. Just go over so I know which one it's going to be. And then two other people. Just look at the images and see what draws you, and go over and stand in front of two of the others. And that's all you need to do right now. I will take it over from there. Okay, so Lear's over there. And Ra's over there. Okay. So I need one more choice of an image. Just look around, see what draws you, and just pop up and go stand in front of it. And Incarnata's on the move. Okay. All right. So I now know the three pictures I'm going to talk about. Thank you, ladies. You can take your seats. Okay. And Carnita, you can sit. You can go back and sit. I'm going to start with the one you're in front of. Okay, so here's what I do. I have people become their image. So I'm going to become this image and I'm going to speak to you. I am a wise fool. I live with this paradox that after living for 82 years, I've accumulated quite a bit of wisdom, and I use it in my teaching and in my relationships with people. But I'm also a fool because there's a lot more that I don't know than that I know. And so I see my life as a continual learning experience that never stops until I leave the planet. So I'm the wise fool's hat, and I am a jester's hat and also a crown. And I live with the paradox of having these two aspects of myself inside my psyche all the time. And I remember that when I'm teaching, as I am now, there's also a foolish part of me that doesn't know what I'm doing or that feels vulnerable, that wonders whether you're getting what I'm saying, that is very interested in learning from you. All kinds of things are going on from the place of my fool. And we know that the fool also in Shakespeare was a very cagey character who was also had some wisdom to impart usually, but was usually very silly and funny and delivered wisdom in very what's the word? Quirky kinds of ways. And I would say that that's true of me too, that I use humor a lot. I feel like I'm quirky to a great extent. Here in Second Life, I definitely feel like a wise fool because I don't know other people who are doing the kind of stuff that I'm doing. And sometimes I feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is crazy. This is silly. And other times I feel like I have something to offer that can be really valuable to people. So this is me. This is me as my wise fool. Okay, folks, I want you to look at this. And those of you who are familiar with Shakespeare, can you imagine, can you see what character this is from Shakespeare? What's your best guess? That's one guess. Notice everything you can about this. The gold on top, the mouth with the tongue coming out, the two hands seeming to hold a world. Yes, Cal, Cleopatra. Cleopatra. Okay. You know, in fact, if you hover over these pictures, don't click on them, or you hover on them, you get the title. So I'm Cleopatra, and one of the programs that I do is called Shakespeare's Women. I may broaden it out to just be anybody at some point, but in Shakespeare's Women, I have about half a dozen women choose monologues from a Shakespeare play of their preferred character. And mine is Cleopatra. As Cleopatra, and also as what I can get in touch with in my own psyche. I'm passionate. I'm voracious. I love to eat. I love things that go into my mouth. I love to talk. So this is my big red mouth with my red tongue. I feel rich. All of the gold in me is how I can be of service, what I can offer, how I can help enhance other people's lives. And my hands are very important to me. I play instruments, I make art. The world that I'm holding has to do with the world of creativity. And also, I feel like I'm a person who has personal power. And I recognize that in my alt here of Cleopatra. Cleopatra grabbed the world by both hands and lived to the fullest. So that gives you just a little sense of me, of how I associate stuff in my own psyche with this character. So in that program, I ask people to make art pieces that represent their characters, and then we play with those. We do Elizabethan dancing. It's great. And if you're in any of my groups, you'll get notices about that. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to this one. Actually, our timing is quite good. Now, if you hover over this, you'll see that the name of me here is Control and Freedom. And maybe you can already see those elements in me. I like to make plans. I like to know what's going on. I like to make points. I like to have areas that are clear. So this control part of me, which actually stands me in good stead in many ways, defines who I am, what my goals are, where I'm going. If any of you are familiar with the Myers-Briggs inventory, I'm a J, not a P. And a J is somebody who sets a goal and then moves directly toward it. And then I have this other part that likes to be free and spontaneous and play and make jokes and giggle. And the people who work with me know this about me. So I have little squiggle parts of me, little red squiggles, little gold splashes all over me that are just playful and also like to tease the controlling part, because, as we all know, the best laid plans of mice and men can often go astray. So as much as I like to know what's happening, have a plan, and so on, it doesn't always come out the way I want it to. So then I have to call upon this other part of me that can be more loosey-goosey and say, all right, if that's not going to happen, then we'll go over here and do this. It's been so true in Second Life to learn this lesson, because I have even less control here than I do out there. I might plan a program, and either no one will come, or it'll be just overwhelming with the number of people. I'll have to change the way I do something. Or people won't show up, or they'll change appointments at the last minute, or they'll volunteer for something and then not be there. And I have had to learn how to call upon the freer, more flexible, more spontaneous part of myself. And spiritually, it's a magnificent lesson for me. I'm wondering, if any of the rest of you can relate to what I'm saying about this. I'm opening this now for your comments. Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. So this is my artistic representation, my symbolic model of those two states of being that kind of have to coexist in order for me to survive. And you heard it with Wise Fool too, coexisting parts. Most of these symbolic models are not monolithic. That is, they will have different textures. You'll see this when I work with Fran in a little bit with the actual building prims. We do a lot of stuff with sculpture. And it's important when you work with your piece. I hope that that my demonstration brings this out, that you need to work with all the different parts, and then there's a Gestalt formation. Gestalt is a German word. There's no exact equivalent in English, but it basically means the whole that's the greater than the sum of its parts. You know, I can say, well, a human being, you know, has a liver, has a heart, has lungs, has a mind, has eyes, and so on. I can just enumerate all the parts of a human being, but the whole of a human being is greater than just adding up the parts. So you understand what I mean by that. And in art, I wish I had time to talk more about the whole, you know, how Gestalt psychology evolved. But basically, it started from visual perception. That when you look at a piece of art, it feels as though you're seeing the whole thing at once. But actually, what's happening is that things are coming to the foreground and going to the background very quickly. And so that there's a constant movement of foreground and background. And there are some very famous Gestalt drawings where you actually see that you can see something 2 or 3 different ways when you look at it. Some of you may recognize when I talk about the vase, which is actually 2 people's profiles. Anyone here recognize what I'm talking about? Yeah, you see a vase, but if you really look at it a different way, what you're seeing is the profiles of 2 people that make up the shape of the vase. So that's why art is so fascinating to me, because you can do this with the positive and negative spaces that you see, and then other things occur to you. Okay, so let me take a breath here. I'm going to go back and sit in my chair. Any quick comments about what you've heard here, whether things made sense to you? I really care about whether what I'm demonstrating is coming across. And even though we'll talk about the content and stuff later, I would like just a little feedback about whether it made sense to you, what I was doing. And if you understand why I spoke in the voice of the painting instead of speaking about it. For one thing, I have a lot more feeling when I do that. And things occur to me when I allow myself to become the parts of the painting or some aspect of that painting. That would not occur to me if I were just thinking about it or talking about it as an it. Xenia says, I hadn't thought about my imagery in terms of Gestalt, but I can see how that is what makes some of them work so well. The advancing and receding of different parts at different times. Yeah. You really like to paint about yourself, but I also like other people's paintings and like to do this with other people. I'm using mine today because if I used other people's, I would need to get permission. I do not use other people's work. I'm really glad, Tuya, that you brought that out. I don't use other people's work unless I get permission from them to use it. And I thought that for this session, the easiest thing would be for me just to use my own stuff. However, when we go into the other room, I'm going to be working with two people, and so they're going to be right there, and it's going to be in real time. Anything else you want to say about these three demos? And I'm glad you chose the three you did, because they are really quite different from each other and represent quite different aspects. Okay, thank you. Let me see if I missed anything. Okay, and if you get hooked, please, if you get hooked, please let Cat's I-10 and Cats know that you would like to participate in a future workshop where I carefully guide people through this process. I don't just throw them into it. So, you know, at any time during this session, if you want to IM her, you're welcome to do that. Okay, let's see if there are any other. Oh, that's wonderful, Xenia. I would have assumed that you would love it. Okay, so now what we're going to do, and by the way, if there's ever a time where you want me to, we'll see if there's time, but if you want me to talk about the other paintings here, I'll be glad to. Now, would everybody please get up and follow me into the other wing of the butterfly? And just take a seat on one of these little textured blocks here. We put these out instead of chairs because they take less room and there's more visual space. I'd like everyone to come sit in the semicircle, please. Look at that. You see that? We have exactly the right number of seats for the number of people. Yay! Oh, did someone new just come in? Where's Maggie? Is Maggie still here? Oh, Maggie, you might want to go sit in the that comfy chair that we put out in the corner there, where I'm looking. That red chair. And then if someone new comes in, I think you just said somebody new is coming in. Diffidence. They can sit on the this chair that Maggie left. I'm just waiting to see who comes in. Is this person coming in? Oh, there are two people. There are two. Okay, so Fran,
I'm asking diffidence.
maybe you could put a few more chairs out in back of Xenia. Let's just take a minute to set the space up so that if people come in, they have a place to be. That's good. Between two people because they can see better. Okay. Great. Could you help them see where they can seat? I don't see them yet. Maybe they're still resing. I'm going to wait till they're settled. Okay. Oh, they're in the foyer? Fran, could you escort them in or tell them where to come? They've never been here before.
Yes, I'm trying to get in touch with them.
I'm talking to Diffidence.
Okay, great. And they can, she can sit on the empty pillar chair, and then there are two others back there. Okay, so let me tell you, I'm assuming they can hear, I hope. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do here. Fran is going to be a demo person for me. And we're going to show you. Hi, Catchwell. Come in. There's an empty seat right in the center. Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure. Well, can I'll let me just make sure you can hear me. I guess you can because you responded. Okay. All right, and then if anyone else comes in, they can sit in the red chairs. We like to be good hosts. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Ugh, I'm getting messed up with the wall here. Fran, come join me in the center. Now, here's the thing about both Fran and Katz. Fran has been with me for 7 years as my technical assistant, and only very recently has he done this kind of work with me. We have done a lot of collaborative sculptures together. We have a session called Collaborative Sculptures and Storytelling, which is really fun, where people work together in pairs, and then they create something, and then they give it a title, and they create a story from it. It's a great exercise for writers and for people who like to do storytelling. But this work, he's newer at, and so both he and Katz will be representative of you all because they're not used to doing this. And Fran, if you want to say anything to begin with about that before we launch into this exercise.
Not really. She's absolutely right. I'm not been very comfortable personally with doing this type of activity, but I find when I do it, it's very refreshing and enlightening to me. So I think in a lot of ways, what I'm doing really is, representative of what same feelings you're probably having about it. So just encourage you to try it and see what comes of it.
And what do you know? The board has come back with the line, so I'll be able to do the drawing exercise later.
Hallelujah.
We're going to do the building one first. Cal, do you see the red chairs? Please, those we put the extra chairs out for people who are coming in now. So please sit down in one of those. You're welcome to sit down there, or I see that there's a white chair next to Kat's also, a white pillar. Your virtual feet don't hurt. Okay. All right. So, Fran, I'm going to ask you to choose a feeling state. I've worked with feeling states quite a bit, and they're usually the easiest ones for us to demonstrate this kind of work. So a feeling state like sadness, anger, confusion, joy, or frustration, whatever you would like for us to do some kind of symbolic modeling with. I call it SymMods.
Okay, I'm going to choose frustration, something that I experience a lot of times.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to deal with Fran as though he's never seen something like this before, even though he has watched me do this stuff for 7 years, but only just recently has put his toe in the water, and I'm so happy. If he were here in the flesh, I would just be giving him a great big hug. You're in two places at once, Fran. You're at your computer, and you have access to your body and your body barometer, your body feelings. And you're also in Second Life on the screen. And it's important when you do this work to pay attention to both places because they give you different kinds of information. So the first thing I want you to do is to get in touch with that feeling of frustration in your body, how you experience it physically. And then gradually to imagine it as a color, as a shape, as something, like you would do in a cartoon, as something that would represent that experience of frustration for you. And then to go to the build board and start choosing a shape or shapes that would symbolically represent that feeling that you're having in your body.
Okay.
Now, he might put out just one shape, or he might put out several. He might color them in different ways. But we'll take maybe 3 minutes or so, and your shapes, your SymMods do not have to be complicated things. When you look at the variety of geometric shapes that you can work with, usually most people can immediately associate a feeling with a particular shape. And so that's the thing that you would start with. Okay? And so when I asked Fran to pay attention to this feeling in his body and imagine it as a color and a shape, that was the beginning of the process. Now he's putting something out or manifesting it out on the screen. And I'm going to ask him to keep checking in with his body at the computer to see whether what he is manifesting matches up with what he's feeling. So I call that your body barometer. It's a way of knowing whether what you're creating or seeing goes along with the feeling that you're trying to symbolize. Hi, Naya. Just sit on the post there. Naya, do you see the white post behind you?
I don't think Naya can hear.
Katz, would you take care of Naya?
I'm typing to her.
Okay, love. Thank you.
I think she found another spot, though.
All right, so, and Fran, you can tell me when you're done putting your objects out. So
Okay.
Fran is paying attention, going back and forth between his body and what it's telling him, and his vision and what it's telling him. And what he wants is to put out a symbolic model that is consonant with both what he is feeling and what he's seeing. Oh, so 2 wasn't enough. There's a third thing coming along.
Yes, one more.
Okay. I'm going to stand so I can move around this thing. And by the way, folks, you can use your cameras to get a view on all sides of this while we work with it. I also want to tell you that there are 2 ways of approaching this process. One is outside in, where you put stuff out and you don't really know what it stands for. And then you find out by working with it. And the other is, of course, inside out, where you have a strong concept and then you're trying to match what you're creating with that feeling or concept internally. And so we're doing more of an inside out here. Wow, I just love, I mean, just aesthetically, I just love this shape and these colors.
I think I am done, by the way. Yeah, so.
Okay, you think you're done. I'm done. So check with your body to see whether your body and your vision are agreeing on this as, and that you don't need to make any more changes right now. Okay, great. Now, in order to form the Gestalt, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, we start with the parts. And so I'm going to ask Fran to speak as each part of his creation. And wherever you're drawn first, that's the place to start. So if it's the red thing, just as an example, he might say, I'm a series of red points. And these are my words. These may not be his words at all. But I just wanted to demonstrate, when I'm asking him to speak as the part, I'm asking him to use I language and become that part and then see what it wants to say. And the theme is frustration. So go ahead, Fran, pick your first part that you're going to be.
Okay. Okay, that blue object in the middle, that is me. I'm feeling broken, off balance, unsure, sure of myself. And then I've got this, below me I have this green colored object. It's a project that I'm working on with a lot of twists in it. And it's really uncomfortable for me because I'm sitting on top of it. The inside of me is yellow. I think that probably might just represent a fear of failure on my part. And there's this red fence outside of me that's kind of blocking me off from seeing anything beyond myself.
All right, now let me just make a slight switch here, Fran. Say the same thing, but say it in I language as that red fence. I am, Fran, I'm your red fence, etc.
Okay, I am your red fence, and I'm blocking your view of the world outside of what you're working on right now, not allowing you to progress, making you feel uncomfortable and isolated.
Okay, so this is, putting that stuff together, we actually, let's see if have you done all of the pieces?
Yes.
There are two different color greens. I see one color on the bottom and one inside the blue.
Okay, that's more of a yellow, which I alluded to earlier. That's probably part of me that it's more of a fear, I think. Yellow.
Okay, I'm the yellow part of you, and I represent your fear.
Okay, I am the yellow part of you, of me. I'm the yellow part of you. I really don't know that. I don't think you can do the job right. I'm afraid you're going to fail at what you do.
Good. Okay, that's a very clear statement. Okay, and then how about the part on the bottom, the bright green part?
I am the project that Fran is working on, and I'm making, and then I've got a lot of difficult parts to me, twists and turns that make me really hard for him to manage, and he's just not very comfortable working on me because he can't see what he needs to do.
You can't see, etc.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I'm the project that you're working on. I'm really, there's a lot of difficult parts to me that make it hard for you to understand. I present all these twists and turns and complexities that takes time, and you're getting frustrated because you can't figure me out, and it just makes making your life pretty difficult, I guess, for you right now.
Okay, and when you go to your body, can you feel what you're saying?
Oh yes, very much so.
Yeah, very strong. And also, when you're that red fence, go back to that for a minute, and I want you to differentiate the shades of feeling that you have when you are different parts of this whole. So as the red fence, talk directly to Fran and see what you get in touch with.
Okay. Fran, I'm here around, I'm surrounding you right now, and I'm isolating you, and you're feeling, I'm making you feel, well, I don't know, it's a good way to say it.
stay with the functions of a fence, or of what this characterizes for you. What are the characteristics and functions of your existence? What is it that you're there for?
I'm here to keep you focused on this project and not be able to look outside, but
it's a little confusing whether that's a positive or negative thing for you.
it's a little of both.
Yeah. So the fence can have a good purpose and also be exclusive, or make it not possible for
Yes. Because if I'm too
part of the
focused,
inside to shine.
right, if it keeps me too focused on what I'm working on, then I get frustrated because I'm not able to address other things outside of it that need to be done.
Yes, outside of you, right?
Outside of me. Outside of me, yes.
Okay. So walk around your object, Fran, and see it as a whole expression of this state of frustration. And also you might notice other things that are not part of frustration, but are something else. You could also try sitting on top of it, raising it and putting it in the air, and seeing what happens when you change your perspective in relation to this object. What happens to your perception of your experience? So just play around a little bit. Yeah, so like the fence posts can be larger. That has a different feeling. So Fran is now playing with his symbolic model to see whether, when he changes either where he is in relation to it or the parts themselves, what happens to his internal experience and to his perception. And when you feel like you have something that you want to explore verbally, just stop and we'll do that. So this is starting to look quite different. Ask yourself and ask your body where you want to place yourself in relation to this object. Or you might try some different things. Oh, we've changed the color. So now Fran is sitting on top of his sim mod. All right, from that point of view, Fran, speak as your sim mod and see what comes out.
All right. Okay, I've stood back and took a deep breath, and I'm really starting to feel better about myself now. And I don't feel so
higher up.
Yep. I don't feel broken as much right now. I may still have this red fence temporarily around me to constrain me, but now I'm able to look beyond it and see the big picture. I feel
in common parlance, to rise above it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Metaphorically, yeah.
I feel less afraid right now and more grounded.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to say in terms of any, like you changed this to orange? If you were going to be orange rather than, what was it before, blue?
It was more of a dark blue, yeah. Or, well, I think I just feel I feel brighter now, I guess.
You're brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so now when you focus on the green part, which is the part that was really full of doubts about whether it could be pulled off,
Right.
does this make any difference to that? You might need to ask the green. Now, here's another way you can work with this, is to set up a dialogue between parts of the sim mod. So I'm wondering, I noticed too that there's green inside the orange part and also on the bottom. And so I'm wondering if you had a little dialogue between the orange and the green, what would they want to say to each other? Don't think too much. Just see what happens when you open your mouth. Where would you start, with the orange or with the green?
Well, I just know that, let's see.
My suggestion is not to think, but just to allow expression to come out. Your first thing is to choose whether you're going to talk as green or as orange, to start a little dialogue.
Well, I just noticed that as the orange, I guess, I just noticed the yellow has turned green. I don't know necessarily what that means, other than the fact that I'm not afraid like I was before. I have more confidence.
All right, let's talk directly to the green, because that was the thing you were afraid of. I'm not afraid of you in the same way that I was before.
Okay, green, you're the part of me inside of me that I was afraid of before. Now doesn't pose a threat to me. I can stand up and to be able to work with what I'm doing now and feel confident.
Okay, you gave yourself a physical order, which was I can stand up. So let's have you stand up and actually see what green's response is to the orange pillar at this point. The green is on the bottom and also on the inside.
Okay, the green on the bottom represented the project I was working on.
It's heard what the orange just said. Is it buying it, or what does green have to say about that?
Okay, as the green, if I'm speaking as the green project on the bottom, I'm still there. I'm still kind of a thorn in your side, but you seem to be able to, your attitude seems to have changed. You're not intimidated by me like you were before. So you seem to be able to do what you seem to be able, like you say, have risen up over it, and you can see now you can function as you should, and not.
And I'm thinking also, Fran, from what you said before about the the fence, both fencing you in, but also helping you stay focused on the project, that there may
Yes.
be something, some covenant that you want to make with that fence about how it can be helpful to you, you know, rather than get in your way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Vince, I know you're there. I respect what you're wanting to do here by keeping me reined into the thing I'm working on now. But I just want you to know that you're not the boss of me. I still need to. Still need to be able to look out and enjoy other things. I know you're there. I'll still keep coming back in here to work on this project I need to work on, but you're not. You're not. You don't have a grasp on me that I can't work beyond.
Okay, great, Fran. I think that's plenty. Come on down and
Come on down.
Just looking at the thing as a whole, the Gestalt formation is seeing how all of these parts interact together and inform each other. And now that you have spoken for each part, can you get a sense of this whole being at your service in terms of giving you perspective about this? Just tell us a little bit about what your experience was in working with it this way.
Well, I started out feeling frustrated and uncertain of what I needed to do. I felt out of balance. I felt like I had to be so focused on this one project that was so difficult that I couldn't. I had to do it at the expense of so many other things, and I was surrounded by this fence that blocked me out from everything else, and as a result, I wasn't able to. I wasn't able to work as well as I'm capable of, and be able to get this job done. And as I step back a little bit and think, rest and just change my perspective, I can see that I can overcome the constraints of I more changed my attitude towards this. I saw that, the project itself was still as difficult as before. The fence is still there, but my attitude has changed so that I can now work with it without feeling so overwhelmed. I can actually
so much.
You're welcome. And I can actually see the big picture better this way.
This was wonderful. You did a great job in working with this. I think you're getting to be an expert in it. Starting from being a horrible scaredy cat about doing anything like this, and it's a reflection of what you were working on here. Some of the same things like can I do it, can't I do it? That dichotomy that you had here was also true of actually just doing the exercise, and that was really excellent. Let's give a round of applause to Fran.
Thank you. That was.
All right.
still here.
Grace, we're almost out of time. I'm horrified because I'm just going to quickly tell you that you can do some similar kind of thing here. Cats, come up here. Let's do this really fast. All right, I've divided the board in half, and we're going to take the feeling state of joy. All right, and we're each going to work on each side of the board to express joy in any way that comes to us.
Can everyone see the board, by the way? If you can't, just click if you don't see it, you should click the screen, and it should appear after a few seconds. Yeah, left click on the screen.
We have to do this very fast because we're almost out of time for this, but I wanted you to see how this board could be used. And then I would work with it in a very similar way to the way that I worked with Fran and the building thing. Although some people prefer to do two-dimensional sim mods rather than three-dimensional ones, so I have this as another option. And then we would do a very similar thing. I would have each of us talk about the different parts and how they relate to the whole, which is the theme of joy. And the other very interesting thing is when you work with someone else on the board like this, you can see sometimes there are similar elements, like we've used three of the same colors actually, but it's a different person, and so it's a different kind of symbolic model that comes out. So that's all we're going to have time for, because I want to spend the last, oh my God, can you stay more than 5 minutes? Or because there is no other MOOC that's happening right after this. I'm wondering if people can stay. Can you stay?
This was scheduled for 2 hours, Marley. You have 33 minutes left. You had me schedule it for 2 hours, so there's 33 minutes. Not a problem.
Oh my God. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. What happened to this? Where did it go?
I see it.
I've got the hand here. Can I move it? No.
I miss yellow. I want a yellow crayon.
Oh, here, I can move it with this thing on the bottom. Okay. Yes, I miss yellow too. I wish that that we could get a yellow crayon, but we have to work with what we've got. So for one thing, we can see that Katz and I have unconsciously picked up different symbolic representations that are very similar. And in fact, we get along very, very well. We work very well together, so I'm not surprised. So I've got this, I'm a red heart. That certainly is where my joy emanates from, symbolically. I've got a big heart. I am filled with happiness and joy, and I love to create stuff all around me. Even accidental, like my green line here, which just came in at the end. I didn't intend, but I love it when spontaneous things like this happen to me. Yes, Kachwa, you will be able to, and I'm going to tell you later, or maybe it's in the mushroom, how you can get a drawing board of your own. It's Maximilian Merlin. Fran, maybe you can put his name in the chat. Anyway, and so I have these this green growing part of me up on top, which is, where things come out and are then offered out in various ways. And then this thin black line, which runs all around my joy, has to do with all my crazy thoughts now when I was doing the drawing, folks, I was not thinking concretely this way. I was just drawing spontaneously. So, but when you start adopting different parts of your creation, things occur to you that didn't occur to you when you were actually doing the exercise. So I have a thought, and then it develops and it encompasses me, and then the green part of me takes over and kind of creates something from this thought process. And it always goes through my heart, because if there isn't a heart in what I'm thinking, feeling, and doing, I don't think it's worth much. So that's my quick take on my symbolic thing of joy. Katz, why don't you also do like a few minutes for yours?
Okay.
See where you're drawn first, and then become that and speak. I am Katsy's whatever. Cat's eyes.
I am the red line. That's my
If you're speaking, I'm not hearing you.
that may be the problem, because I started doing what you were telling me to do. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I said I am the red lines. I was exploding outward at first. I didn't just continue all the way out, though, I see. I'm just like a wave, outward and upward mostly. I'm the first red lines I did, I noticed that I'm all in the upper left or left-hand corner. Could be a function of being more right-brained. Let's see. I then began to feel my green came out, and I believe, like you, it was a pattern of it's feeling like growing, like becoming, and yet centering too. But growing.
As my green, I am growing, becoming, and centering.
As my green, I am growing, becoming, and centering. It's not all occurring to me at once, so it's hard to organize my thoughts.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Sorry.
I'm just feeding it back to you. And, I use your words, not mine.
Okay. And the red part grew a flower. So it's seeking shape. It's seeking growing. That combines the passion with the growing, I think, to become something, to grow into something that is joyous and a reality that expresses the joy. The last thing I remember drawing was the blue line. That was very last thing, and I believe I feel like the blue, as I am the blue line, I am flowing, I am supporting, I am calming. I'm not taming the passion, but holding it up. And giving it a flowing, giving it a place to flow, a way to flow.
It's at your base. Part of your foundation is flowing and supporting. And you can see everybody. if you have a Gestalt formation of this, you see this plant growing with a flower on top, with coming out of this flowing and supporting base. You know, so then it ceases to be each little part and becomes, the Gestalt forms from all of the parts into one thing. So that's great. I think that will suffice for now, unless you're dying to say something else.
Well, the green, I wanted a thicker crayon. It was not as I was drawing it. I wanted more of a whole than scribbles, and I think there would have been yellow at some point.
Yes,
I don't know what that means.
I want to get somebody who's technically oriented to be able to make an improved drawing board that's got more colors, and where you can adjust the line with the same way you can in a drawing program. You know, where you can pick the lines, you can pick whether it's pixelated or solid. There should be a way to do that on a board that's here. So now I'm going to ask you, Katz, what your personal experience was doing this. You know, anything you want to say?
Yeah, it felt releasing. It felt cathartic. I began to feel rather joyous as I did it. And that's pretty much it.
Important thing that you just said, because you go back and forth between you speaking as it and it speaking to you.
Mm-hmm.
The process works both ways.
Well, yes, it really does. It's given me some insight into how my joy works and where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And
if I have permission, I can now erase the board, because we don't want to have too much land impact. But the thing is that with these boards, do you see the eraser here? You can actually go up to the part that says clear board, but I want your permission. Is it all right to do that now?
yeah, sure.
Well, I'm clicking on clear board and nothing's happened. Oh, clear whiteboard. There you are. Okay. All right. And then you're given a new board and you can draw on it or do whatever you want. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
So, Fran, do they have the link to the whiteboard that they can get through their browser?
I posted it earlier. I can post it again.
Yeah, post it again, because if you might like to get a whiteboard and play with it.
Oh, well, if you mean getting a whiteboard in World, I don't have a link for that other than Max's shop.
Maggie just put it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that's
Yeah.
what I have is a link to the whiteboard website.
It says
Right.
that it's mod. I'm wondering if an owner can mod it. If a scripter got a hold of it, they could enhance it. Add yellow, for
Well,
instance.
I think you can get this
Well-
from Maximilian Merlin.
You
Oh,
you have to
good.
understand.
He's still around.
You have to understand this is on everything that you're seeing on the board is happening on a website. So the colors and all that's all programmed on on the whiteboard website.
That should make it easier then, even. Maybe we
Well,
could
they're
just talk to him.
Oh yeah, I mean you can always talk to the creators of the board and see if they're. I'm not sure if they get any. Not sure how much money they have coming in, if they work off of donations or what, but
Max will give a free board to
Yeah,
to
you can get a
my
free
classes.
copy of this.
And he also has a neat shortcut build box that we use sometimes on this island, where all the commands are on a touch screen and you don't have to keep going back to the edit board. And just tell him I sent you. All right, so now responses to what you saw. You can use your voice or you can put it in chat. You've seen three demonstrations, one using paintings, one using drawing, and one using building. All of them are designed to create what I call SymMods, or symbolic models, and they can be used to explore feelings about an issue, ideas, decision processes, problems you're working on, even relationship stuff. You know, you set up two people on a drawing board and you ask them, for instance, make a symbolic drawing of how you experience your relationship. That is so interesting because, of course, they'll have different stuff on either side of their board, and then they have something visual to focus on, to talk about whatever it is, and to bring out different things that they never could have gotten to otherwise. So, and I'm just saying this because I want you to really see that there are many, many different ways that you can apply this tool to whatever it is you're doing. And so I would really like to open the floor now to you and say, first of all, what was your experience watching these demonstrations? What ideas did you get from it? What questions do you have for me about any of it? So Kachwa says, made me really think about how I would visualize something, okay?
I think the trick is not to think too much, to just do it really fast so you don't have time to think too much.
Yes, yes. The less thinking, the better. It's like an intuitive process. The thinking comes in when you start to, put together what it is you're saying about your pieces. But otherwise, it should be a more spontaneous process where you're not doing a lot of analyzing, certainly not at the beginning. At the end, after you've formed a Gestalt, then you can it'll help you think about other aspects of whatever it is that you're dealing with. All right, let me see what you're writing. Seeing many hats. Yes, Kachwa. Good. Ra, becoming part of the design, making it from first person was very enlightening. Yes, as you heard Fran say, people will feel more about what they are dealing with rather than just intellectualizing about it. And that's where the goodies come. That's where some of the insight and the perspective comes from. And also, Fran, I'm wondering if you could say something about the business of being in two places at once. That is, how you were able to use your body, or what that part of it is for the experience. Because I always have people when I'm working with them, and I do this privately or I do it in classes, I have them pay attention to what's going on in their bodies while they are putting stuff on the screen. And I don't think that that's a usual practice here, except for people who do that naturally. All right, let me see. Well, I asked Fran to respond to something, and then I'm going to read what Xenia said.
Okay, well, I was feeling as I was making these objects and talking about them, it definitely did affect me here in real life at my seat. So, you know, it's the two really work together. There's really, and that's.
So when I say use your body as a barometer of what it is you're creating, could you feel what you're feeling and what you're seeing coming together?
Yeah, to a certain degree I can. Yeah.
It sometimes takes a little practice. For some people, it's immediate. You know, particularly like if you're a kinesthetic person and you process things through your feeling states, and then the visual, you know, becomes something that you can reflect on from that place. And different people will use different channels. For some, it will be the words I'm saying when I'm guiding them, or what they're hearing. So hearing, seeing, feeling, like the proprioceptive, the internal focusing. It can start from any place and go out from there. So let me see what Xenia says here. And let me just check, Fran, to make sure that you're done saying what you wanted to say.
Oh yeah, I'm done with what I was going to say about it.
Right, let me go up here. Making it from first person. Okay, Xenia. The process was definitely related to the way I want to approach my painting practice right now. I want to tap into my feelings and spiritual experience and let the work talk to me and guide me toward what it should become. I hope to have personal growth experiences through my work and see how this process can be helpful. It also makes me think about the way that I approach resolving impasses in other projects. Great, that's wonderful feedback there. Some more comments. I want as many comments as there are people here. I love to hear what people have to say about this because it's the kind of work that you really don't see in other parts of Second Life, as far as I know. So it's great to hear people's ideas about how to apply it and also just get the feedback about what you experienced. Don't be shy. Speak right up. I'm not sure whether the hand movements mean that people are typing. I never know. And Catch was saying, I feel I've now started process will then be a whole new process of how I take it further. Yeah. And, you know, if you come to most any of my programs, you get different examples of this. Anna, it gave me another way to see how people might feel at the moment they paint or do a sculpture. Yeah. Yeah, it's great doing it in real time. Lear, when I saw symbolic modeling for the story of Romeo and Juliet with the nurse as a protector, the connection with the colors, visuals, and feelings all came together for me. Yeah, that was another way that we used this. We made symbolic models of characters for the Virtual World's Best Practices in Education session. And we used a scene from Romeo and Juliet, and we had the actors actually make symbolic models of their characters. And they all said that it helped them go more deeply into who their character was and how they experienced it. Caledonia. It reminded me of an amazing installation I saw at LEA last year by Frank X, a New Zealand artist. He did a fascinating installation on depression that was all form, color, and light. I was really intrigued by Fran's color change in dealing with his frustration. Yes, and that changing the color and also changing his relationship to the object that is going on top of it then starts to change the feeling or perspective that you have about the problem. You literally start seeing it in a new way. Anna says, I work with 12 to 16-year-old students, and it might help me get more from what they present. Yes, and I'm imagining, I think that kids would love doing this. You know, whether they're dealing with science or astronomy or English or whatever, or just with themselves, with learning more about themselves. In a way, I could feel the magnitude of his frustration by the colors. Yeah, right. And the other thing is to remember, just like with the drawing board, that if you did a sim mod of frustration, a personal sim mod of frustration, it might come out looking completely different from Fran's, because we all have our own ways of expressing what's inside and manifesting it on the outside. And then Xenia is saying, I thought about this in terms of working with kids when Kat was asking for a yellow crayon, and you responded in such a calming and rational way. We work with what we have, right? That's all we can do. It's too bad we can't even combine the colors here like you can in some paint programs. That's why I'd like some of you to come to this Visions of Self workshop, because you'll be able to create more freely with whatever drawing program you have on your computer. And then you can upload it here, and Fran will put it in a frame, and then we can work with it in the workshop. That's how it would work. Caledonia is saying, remind me, my sister's saying to me, I know you don't want to deal with Christmas, but make yourself decorate and you'll be fine in a few hours. The colors, textures, and the action change my frame of mind and adjusts my attitude every time. So well said. Katra, I work with 2 to 4-year-olds, but with special education needs. Color, drawing, etc. Very important at this age. Yes. Pilar, with the yellow crayon, I thought about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Willow and Xander and their yellow crayon. Oh, that's a great association. Creativity is magical. It sure is. Julia, I think maybe since we create a whole story and drama from simple abstract shapes, it teaches us what we can change in the story, and maybe more easily than we thought. Yes, that is what I love about this technology here. It's much more immediate. You can change things much faster than you can, like if you were doing a sculpture at home or doing a drawing at home. And then, I would have people do other drawings and then put them alongside each other. But here you can actually make those changes in a very short time and immediately feel the effect of it. These are wonderful comments. Think about your own situation. Some of you have made comments already. How you might use this to enhance what you're already doing. We've had people talk about, dealing with their painting in certain ways, dealing with young kids and using this. Working on your own issues and getting different perspectives about them. Certainly in many educational settings, I've used symbolic modeling both out there and in here to illustrate ways of using this to get more insight about an issue or a problem. And I think I mentioned, not all of you were here when I mentioned my climate change platform. If you just go to any of our teleporters, you'll see see it on there as one of the places you can go to. And there I deliberately have people take positions that are not their own and develop a symbolic for that position and arguments for it. And it is a very interesting thing, because my belief is that you're best at dealing with a problem when you can see as many sides of it as possible. Now let's see what else people are saying. Ra says, I teach video game development and can see using this technique to explore different game genres. Oh, great idea. Anna says, I used to write letters to myself to deal with issues. Now I can try to draw it or sculpt it with clay, or even in here. You know, I mean, you can use the technology here in this way. Wonderful. Fabulous. Okay, other ideas. You know, another way is if you have a decision to make. This is a great way to use this. You put out different symbolic models for like different sides of a decision, like if you're deciding where you want to live or move, or what you want to serve as a dinner for people who are coming that you want to impress, or relationship types of issues. Do I want to speak to him about this or about that? You can use this way of modeling to get your own ideas clear. And often you get brainstorms that you would never get by thinking or talking alone. Now let's see what Tachwa. One of the first things we look for in children is how they interpret their marks, and this expands that. Wonderful. Well, now we're getting to the end of the time, right? It's 11:56.
Yeah, it's about 4 minutes till the hour, but we started a bit late, and like you were saying before, we don't have anything scheduled after, so totally happy to hang around as long as you want.
Although, Maggie, I know that you wanted to say some things to
yeah, but that's
the formal part, and then we can have an informal. I'm going to stay around for 15 or 20 minutes. And
okay.
Anyone who wants to stay around, talk about this more, can.
Well, if you if you want to end the formal part now, then let me just say thank you so much. I've been in other versions of this talk in other SLMOOCs over the years, and every time you do it, it's more fascinating and more significant and more meaningful, and just a really wonderful look into what you do in your Visions of the Self workshop, and it seems to be very, very useful. So I want to thank you again for signing up to do something else for us, and I'm really glad that you decided on more time rather than less, because it's been a process across the 2 hours, and I think that has also made it much more meaningful. So thank you very much, Marley. This is really wonderful. And I just wanted to mention to the students that we will have a video up on the SLMOOC playlist. You can pick up that link in the SLMOOC headquarters in Chilbo. If you have never gone to the headquarters and would like to see what else is going on in the course, just get into search on the Second Life viewer and search for Integrating Technology. That's the name of the building. Integrating, if I can spell it correctly, one sec. Integrating Technology is the name of the building, and that will take you right to the headquarters. And we have some events coming up tomorrow. I believe we have the machinima workshop tomorrow and an additional event tomorrow. And on Friday, we will probably be having a tour of the art galleries in Chilbo as well. That'll be going up on the board. So I want to thank all the SLMOOC students and all the other folks who have joined us here today, and Fran and Cat's Eye, and especially you, Marley. It was really great, really wonderful.